Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday show, Arsenal Fan Circle here. I've got Stan with me. Good morning, good afternoon. Good morning for you, Stan, right?
Yes, good morning. It's a lovely sunny day here in Vancouver. We're having some lovely weather at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes, good morning. It's a lovely.
Is it humid?
No, it's just really hot. It's like
Yeah.
29 degrees.
Yeah. It's warm here on the east coast of the States as well, and humid, a little bit humid. So, good to stay indoors where the air conditioning is running. But listen, um, we saw earlier today the players boarding the plane to the US. So the US tour is starting now in earnest then.
Did we? I didn't see that. I was asleep.
Yeah, I know. It's a little early for you. 11 a.m. Notable exceptions were Emil Smith Rowe and Thomas Partey. So, that may fuel a little bit more discussion about Thomas Partey if he's going to get that move that he needs to.
Did you
For
did you say no ESR?
No, Emil Smith Rowe, but that's not unusual because he's just finished with the European tournament, and
All right.
we are told that he's going to join next week.
Maybe
So
he's been left behind to mind the shop.
yeah, yeah. Also, Reese Nelson did not make it as well for some reason. So those are notable players who have not made the trip to the U.S. But we'll figure it out as the days and hours go by.
Hmm.
Um, we have some players such as Runerson went on the plane. That backup goalkeeper we still have.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think Cedric stayed home. Lakonga stayed home, and another player stayed home. So Pepe, yeah. So those are the three players that were pretty much saying, find yourself a club.
Yeah.
Cedric, Lakonga, and Pepe. So those are that's the notable stuff, and only one academy player in Cozier Dewberry. I think it's the Assemble's nephew is has made it on this trip as well. And outside of that, all of the usual names that you would expect are there. So those
Is
are
he
the
the
unusual ones.
is he the Assemble's nephew? Is he?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Cozier Dewberry. Okay, so let's get through a few comments as we get settled in here. Henry Ray Baker, hi Ray, how we doing, Henry Ray Baker? Hope you're well. Let's get it, fellas. BX Gunner, listen, we're reveling in the 105 million acquisition of Declan Rice, all signed, sealed, delivered, and he's going to be on the plane, flying probably now. Maybe they've landed actually. 705 here in the UK, 90 in Charlotte, says PX Gunner, 89 in Norfolk. So we're getting a weather check here. Big up chat as we get wound up here. We'll get into it in a second. Was going to hit a baseball game up. Wife said it's too hot. Yeah, definitely. The deadwood have to be cast out. Stan, we're about upgrading the team now. You bring in a Declan Rice, a Urian Timber, even a Havertz, and players like Nuno Tavares. We got to get a profit off that player now.
Yeah.
Something over 7 million for Tavares would not be bad at all.
Yeah.
Same with Lakonga. We don't know about Pepe. Nobody wants Pepe at this point in time, and Cedric will need to find a spot as well. So this is why he deletes all of his comments. No, the Assemble just has that quirk about him, BX Gunner. We start pre-season today. We're out in Germany. I noticed that, and in Liverpool, the Liverpool squad were riding bicycles around Germany as well. So must be something about Germany pre-season and bicycles that all coincide together, because our Arsenal players were riding bikes last week in Germany as well. So yeah, Stan, the acquisition of Declan Rice. What are your thoughts now? It's all signed, sealed, delivered. He's wearing the shirt and all that good stuff.
Well, it's about bloody time, isn't it? It's probably one of the most protracted transfers that I could remember as an Arsenal supporter. I mean, by the time we got the news, it was kind of like, like if you pull a party popper, but then nothing really comes out the other end. It's just like a dull thud when you pull it, because we kind of knew that he was already there, even though it wasn't like 100% confirmed and we didn't see any pictures. we knew that the deal had been done. I mean, I was so confident. I started selling Declan Rice mugs and mouse mats to my Etsy store a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You know, because
Yep.
it was a done deal. So it's not like the old days when you used to get transfers and used to get the excitement. And I always cite the Dennis Bergkamp signing as my go-to because there was no internet or anything like that. I was on holiday with the missus and we went down to the little shop on the way to the beach to get cream and stuff like that. And I just picked up the newspaper to see what was happening. I looked at the back page and there it was. And, you know, that's a totally different feeling, like excitement and you're like, what? And I think I even was like showing everybody in the shop, and I don't think most of them really cared or even understood what I was trying to talk to them about. So you compare that to something with the Declan Rice, it's a different world now, right? We've got to listen to updates about updates. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, inching closer.
Yep.
Getting closer, and you know what I mean, and Fabio Romano with his concrete rumors, and here we go, and you know, it's just kind of like milked the fun out of it. So, although I'm glad we've signed him, obviously, because it's a statement of intent, which we've already discussed on this broadcast. You know, I'm not like woo because it's, you know, all of the love and the joy has been already sort of sucked dry out of it, and we've just been left. You know, we've just been left with the husk of Declan.
The core, the apple has been eaten, and you got the core. You know, some people like to just eat the whole apple, seeds and all, but we're left with the core. And you know, that is the thing that social media is, and it's been done to a death. But there was a little bit more content yesterday in terms of Declan Rice interview, so I can go through that with you and just get your take on it and stuff like that. So there was a meeting. There was a little 3-minute video of a meeting, you know, where they all gather for like a team talk tactics.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Everybody finds their seat. It was quite interesting, Stan, looking at the various, not necessarily cliques, because I think everyone gets along, but, you know, you're always going to gravitate toward one person or another. Oh, I want to sit beside Ramsdale. So he had Ramsdale on one side, and I think Declan Rice had, I don't remember who it was on the other side, you know, but interesting to see how all that pans out, right?
Well, he's you know, Declan Rice apparently is really close friends with Eddie Nketiah. Yeah, they both, you know, sort of like came up at the same age, and you know, Declan Rice is, you know, really friendly with the Nketiah family. I think Eddie's dad probably used to take him to some games, and so you know, he's got a good friend at the club, maybe one that he really get attached to, because I don't know how long he's going to be around. But I didn't realize that he had such a close friendship with Eddie. But yeah, when they were sat in that locker room or changing room, wherever they were, and obviously, you know, he was welcomed into the family. You know, a bit like joining the mafia. He's now part of the family. You know, he took the oath, so to speak. Yeah. And then he was asked to say a few words if he wanted to say a few words, and quite a good speaker, isn't he?
Yes.
You know, he wasn't. You know, you expected. Thanks, I'm glad to be. He was really. You know, it was almost like, will you shut up? He said a few words. Don't take the meeting over. But seriously, though, yeah, I liked his confidence and what he had to say.
Yeah, I think being a leader from West Ham, you know, a smaller club and a bigger fish in that bowl, he probably would have had to have done a lot of media duties, and so yeah. I don't think he's afraid to say a few words. And you come with that label of 105 million, and
you can't be a shrinking violet, can you?
You can't be a shrinking violet. No, you've got to be available to talk to the media, and he's going to have to find his place in the dressing room now, which I don't think will be a problem. Everybody gets along, but always nice for him to be able to say a few words. And he said, you know, hopefully we can enjoy this coming season together, and a little cue to the future. Hopefully we can enjoy winning some trophies in the process as well. So, and with that, we'll bring in Sam and Gary as well. Welcome to the show, morning. Gary and Sam.
Hello.
Yeah, so we're just talking about that the 3-minute video yesterday of the media room. I suppose the
Now, we were
tactics
just talking
were-
about this guy. You may have heard something, slight rumblings about it, but we signed this guy for 105 million. Apparently, you may have heard. You may have heard something about it.
No, I don't
Tell,
know.
do tell. More. What else about this Rice guy? No, you got nothing else.
His name's Uncle
we
Ben.
got lots. We got
Uncle
lots.
Ben, I like that guy.
Uncle Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sam, what are your thoughts on that little 3-minute video? We're in the tactics room where we're about to go through what happened in Germany, and we're welcoming Declan Rice, and let's not forget Jurriën Timber as well, to what we call the Arsenal family here, Sam.
No, it's great, fantastic. It's a statement signing, isn't it? It's the type of signing that I think it's the first real big statement signing that we've been looking for in the Emirates era. I think this is finally the type of signing that we
Right, Pepe.
said we were going to be moving to the Emirates to do.
Was Pepe. Yeah.
Pepe.
Nah.
Hey,
Pepe was Raul doing something there. That was Raul doing something dodgy
Yeah.
there.
I still will hold my hand up and say I was gassed about Pepe as well, but
Oh yeah, absolutely, because he was like compared to Zaha. It was all, we're going to get Wilfred Zaha from Crystal Palace. It's like, oh no, we got this Pepe guy who's even better and cost a lot more. Who was like the fancy option that we didn't think we'd get. And then, but the more we went through that deal afterwards, just like it just didn't really pan out and make sense, did it?
yeah. Gary and I were fans of Pepe because if you leave him on the pitch, the longer you leave him on the pitch, the more product he's going to give you. He would give you a goal and assist almost every 90. It just didn't look that good, Gary.
Yeah, we went from Rice to Pepe, huh? How does that? I mean, are we?
Well,
done?
that one transfer window, one transfer record extended by another one. You know what I mean?
True.
Um,
The whole Pepe, the whole largest, biggest transfer, flop, all that stuff is gone out the window. Now we don't have to talk about that anymore. So
Yep.
Pepe probably has that weight taken off his shoulders now. Hopefully
Yep.
he can just play some football wherever that is. It's probably not at Arsenal, but
And
wherever that
another
is.
another thing is that Pepe wasn't that same statement sign. He was a big name with a lot of reputation, and he was like all the big fancy option ahead of Zaha. But Rice is a different statement because, first of all, everyone wanted Rice. Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, that they all wanted Rice.
Mhm.
Everyone was in for him, and he chose us. He wanted to go to Arsenal. He got brought in by Arteta and Edu, and Arteta by Arteta's plan for Arsenal, and then everything that's going on at Arsenal. For me, that is a big statement signing when you bring in a player like that at that level, that amount of money, who is one of the biggest targets on the market. That is a different level, and that for me is the first time we've done that in the Emirates era. And that's why it's finally why it's a great step in our history.
Yep.
Because it's finally why we moved. We were told we're going to move to the Emirates.
Yep.
So we can buy the biggest and best players.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking, Ivan, when you were going that way, of what Ivan Gazidis had promised us over a decade ago, and various things have stood in our way of doing that. The struggle by the owners to get 100% ownership in the club. But it's just a pity we have had over 10, 15 years. And now we have Declan Rice coming in trying to, he's taken on this challenge, and we'll talk about that as well. Taking on the challenge of bringing Arsenal back to where we were 20 years ago, Gary.
Yeah, but that's not even the biggest news. I mean, the biggest news, is a legend. A legend is going down. The captain of Manchester United is no more.
Oh, Harry Maguire. We're going to talk about Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
We went from We went from Rice to Pepe to Harry Maguire.
You guys had me talking about Pepe long before Rice, so I'm gonna go all crazy. You gonna go crazy? I'm going crazy.
Gary,
Right?
this isn't a road trip, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I like a
Hey,
little.
why are we
Keep
talking
it
about
going,
Pepe
Paul.
then? Why are we talking about Pepe? We have bigger fish to fry, as they say sometimes.
All right, I
Let's
want
talk
to know
about-
one
let's-
thing, Gary.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead. Say what you got to say, and then I want to ask you this question. Go ahead.
No, like I said, it's I did
Harry
like
Maguire.
you guys were talking about the intro.
Yeah.
And it was good to see. Initially I thought he was going to walk in. Didn't realize they were all sitting. Everybody was sitting there. Timber and
Yes.
and Rice were sitting in the crowd because they had, did it really good where they had him off. You would never see them, but it's cool to see that. And then all of a sudden they just pan over and there's as you said, Rice sitting next to Ramsdale in front of holding that, and Keddy is there. I think one of the I think it's Skeller is next to him. I think next to him.
Yeah,
One of the academy players is next to him on that back line there. Really cool. Yeah, one of the things we're not going to miss, and we talk about this all the time, why we wanted Xhaka on the team is the leadership that they bring and stuff like that. We don't need to worry about that. One of the things we talk about Holding, why he's around, locker room guy, don't have to worry about that. One of the things we talk about with El Neni being around, locker room, player, teammate, all that kind of stuff. I don't think we have to worry about that either.
Yeah.
I think he encompasses what all those three players did for us. He's got a lot of minutes, a lot of miles in the Premier League, leading a team for the last number of years. So we've got a good one there in terms of what we may have been lacking in terms of leadership in the locker room and on the pitch.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's going to be a positive. I mean, so much so that some people think he should just get the armband. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it wouldn't be I don't think it would be it shouldn't be a big concern if it did happen. I don't think it will, but it shouldn't be. I don't think, he needs to definitely prove it, but I think he's done a lot already to show that he could put the armband on and do what we wanted. So,
Yeah.
But no, he's bringing in a lot for us. He is going to be leaned on and be asked to do a lot. I don't think that's an issue. He's done that already. He's going to have a lot better players around him, have a lot better system around him. Team with, who have just got to the cusp but not been able to cross the line. So, he's going to hopefully be able to be part of that answer to that, question. Can we get across the line and pull up and, grab hold of a trophy at the end of one of these seasons? Hopefully this season. I think, he even talked about it winning, Premier Leagues and Champions League. And, I think if he's striving for that, that's perfect. It's what we want. Not too many players have come in saying exactly that. He said it. So he knows what we're all about, what we're trying to do. So it's going to be good. I think he'll play wherever is needed, right? He came in as a center back in midfield now, but so he's not, that's what we want, a player that will do that. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does, seeing how he grows with the squad and all of that. So we might take a little bit of a dip in midfield because it's going to be new, but I think it will, that hopefully that will go away quickly every time they step on the pitch.
Yep. Just a slight adjustment, hopefully. But the big question, Gary, is what song do you have in your head nowadays? Is it I'm Yelling Timber or Rice Rice Baby?
I don't do that stuff. I don't know. I don't have any songs in my head. I'm just I just want us to win.
I'm going with Kesha and Pitbull. Sam, what about you?
I told you that's the song that's been in my head ever since we were linked to him. I just can't get it out of my head, that stupid song.
Oh, no, I don't. No, I'm looking. Like I said, I'm looking forward to being able to scream that he's doing good or bad. That's what that's what I'm looking forward to. Screaming for all the good things that he does, and every once in a while he'll do something I don't like. But that's part of the journey, as I say in fandom. I didn't get done for a copyright. So whatever Sam did, I didn't get nicked for it.
Yeah.
So
I only played it for like 30 seconds.
I think they have technology, dude. They have the technology,
Where was this? Over on the trip or something?
Yeah, I played Ice Ice Baby for 30 seconds.
All right, Sam. Is this Rice deal bigger than Ozil?
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bigger deal because Ozil. We got Ozil. He was maybe just slightly past his prime. He was still good, but he didn't have his best powers that he had at Real Madrid. we're getting Declan Rice, pretty much coming to the peak of his current powers.
24. Yeah.
We're hoping that will develop even further, as he's still only 24. But we're getting Declan Rice as right now. He's a very, very accomplished player, captain of West Ham, solid England player, probably England captain not too long off. This is a big, big statement signing again, and he brings us all the leadership qualities as well, as you guys were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big addition to the leadership side of what we're doing as well. So you look at our squad now; we've got some good leaders in there. We've got Erdegaard, we've got Saliba, we've got Gabriel, we've got Declan Rice now. These guys, there's a good set of leaders in that team now.
Yeah. Jorginho, even.
Yeah.
Jesus, Zinchenko.
Yeah, I mean, they're all Zinchenko. Exactly. Zinchenko looks to be a good leader as well. So, yeah, but Declan Rice is just, for me, he's the biggest statement signing we've done since we moved to the Emirates. That, for me, there's no comparison. Yeah, you get a few players who come close, but again, because, like I said, Ozil was slightly, you look at his career trajectory, Ozil was maybe slightly past his peak on his way down.
Yeah.
He wasn't at his best at the Real Madrid days and all that.
Yeah.
So, for me, Declan Rice, we're getting him just as he's coming up to the top of his peak now.
Yep.
And, captain, everything else that comes with it. Huge, huge signing.
Huge statement signing. Henry Baker said, "Who do you feel is doing the best in the transfer window so far?" Listen,
they did identify Ice Ice Baby in the video, but they said it was no impact on the video. So I think if you had started dancing, Sam, I think maybe we would have gotten nicked. But
it would be different.
But you didn't dance, so I think we made it.
Thank
It said
God
karaoke.
for that.
It said it was the karaoke version. So I'm not sure what that means, but.
Yeah, I think it was a karaoke version I pulled up anyway.
I'm going to say that we're having a really good transfer window, but let's remember and let's not get too carried away or gassed about this, because Tottenham won the transfer window last season and look where they finished.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to rate our transfer window as it stands right now, what would you rate it as? Personally, for me, I'd rate it as a 7. And the reason I would rate it as a 7 is because out of the players that we've signed, for me, the gamble and the unknown quantity is Kai Havertz.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on how that goes, that could raise from a 7 to a 9. It could go up 2 points if Kai Havertz, hits the ground running and provides for us. Or if it goes the other way and he continues to play like he did at Chelsea, it could go from a 7 to a 5. It could go down 2 points. So that's why I've chose 7, because there's like a little bit of leeway either side, depending on what I see from Kai Havertz. And as you guys were speaking about the leadership as well, for me, I want Martin Odegaard to remain as the club captain. And one of the main reasons is purely that, Declan Rice is already going to have to deal with the fact that he cost 105 million. Mm-hmm. He's going to have that weighing on him. And I think by, giving him the armband straight away will only add to that and increase the pressure on him. So, anytime Odegaard's not playing or he has to leave the field of play or he's injured or suspended or rotating, I don't mind Declan Rice getting the armband in them circumstances.
Yeah, 100%. And Sam, I think it may. I echo a lot of what Stan said. I would put an 8 for our transfer window. And Odegaard is very good with the media, Sam, and I think you might prefer Odegaard anyway. Right?
Odegaard's he's a player's captain in terms of he's very good at being vocal on the pitch, talking to the guys, directing them on the pitch. He's not one of these guys you're going to be seeing shouting, doing everything outside off the pitch and all of this, trying to be very visible and centre and all of that. He's a guy that just gets them to do the work they need to do and directs them and helps them on the pitch. He's that kind of guy.
And just look at his face. I mean, he brings the birds in as well, right? You've got to have him out there.
Yeah, he's a good-looking lad. Yeah, yeah. Him and Erling, they tear the town up when they go out. But no, I mean it's he's a different type of captain than what people are used to. People are used to some guys shouting everyone in the face, and every time you see them in a clip somewhere, they're shouting at everyone, and they sort of think that that's what leadership is. There's many different types of leadership. That's the fact to it. And as long as the players are happy, reacting to it, and we're getting a response from them, which we seem to be doing, Martin seems to be doing a good job with it. And he's also the national team captain as well. I mean, you can't be a no one and be the captain for your national team. You got to be doing something right there as well. So when you're your national team captain and you're also team captain for Arsenal, you got to be doing something right.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Indeed.
but
Biek,
Declan Rice, sorry, just to finish off with Declan Rice adds up a lot of extra leadership, right? They're all going to help still on the pitch, like you say, Zinchenko, Declan, Gabriel, Saliba. All these lads are all going to help on the pitch anyway with leadership. But what's great is if Martin, has to be subbed or whatever, he's injured, you've got a great alternative as to come in, haven't you?
Spencer's picking a 9 for the window. Sam, what do you think is your rating for the transfer window?
I think so far it's about an 8. I think I agree with you, Ray. I think it's been a very good window in terms of we've actually managed to get in our biggest name, our biggest target, which is great. I think for me personally, I'm looking at Kai Havertz and I'm looking at his potential. I agree with Stan. You don't know exactly how that's going to go yet because, unfortunately, at his time at Chelsea, that hasn't been very good for him and his development. He's definitely gone backwards while he was at Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
He was amazing at Bayer Leverkusen, one of the best, if not the best, player in Bundesliga when he was sold to Chelsea. I was so pissed off when he got sold to Chelsea because he's an amazing player. And I just hope if we can get some of that back from him, we are going to be laughing. We are really going to be laughing because the stuff that guy can do potentially from an attacking perspective is just the guy is just incredible. So hopefully we get some of that from him, and in that regards, then that also lifts the transfer window for me. I think he could be a very good signing, a shrewd signing that Arteta goes, right, I know you lost your way, kid, but I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to bring you back on track. And then that could turn him into a very, very shrewd signing. In terms of Timber, I think Timber going to give us a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing we're lacking, I think, maybe for me is we might be lacking maybe an extra. I would like to see an extra striker, really. But we've been talking a lot lately about this, and we might not really need it. I know it's a different discussion, but we might not even need it because of the way we play. But I agree with you. I think overall so far, an 8, but we need to get rid of some of this deadwood. We need to get Cedric out of the door. I mean, he's like an old Veruca that just keeps hanging around on your foot. Every time you go swimming, there it is, the old Veruca's back.
He forego a seat. He foregone his seat and sat on the ground.
He just never goes. He just never
sat on the ground
goes.
so he could be front and center yesterday.
We need to get rid of Cedric. We need to finally get rid of him. Pepe, terminate his contract. Goodbye. Sorry, it didn't work out. It is a sorry story for the lad, but again, this is football.
Welcome.
This is football. This is not A&E, History Channel. And that's it. When we get the final bits of deadwood out the door, then I think we have a very good transfer window.
Yeah. From what I'm hearing, it's about outgoings now for a few weeks, and then there may be 1 or 2 more coming in.
I think they're going to assess when we get back from the pre-season, and they're going to assess if we have any final needs before the end of the window, I think.
So, Gary, if Partey goes with no replacement, I think the window might be a failure despite the Rice deal. Our depth with quality is pointless. But, Gary, Henry Ray Baker for Liverpool, as far as they're concerned, it's been a poor transfer window. You get to see, we've seen it in the last 5 to 10 years, how bad it can be. But we're starting to see a well-run club running their business really well in Arsenal. And Liverpool probably looking from the outside in. Yeah,
there's a lot of things that you've been talking about, so I'm just going to go through each one of them. So hopefully I hit everything that you've said.
Hit on everything.
I think the first thing you said was if Ozil is a better signing than Rice. I kind of felt like not because we weren't we were just looking for all the talented things that Ozil would bring to the table, and to some degree he did. We just didn't have everything, all the pieces around him. I think we're better suited with this pieces around Rice this time around. He's coming in for more than just his talents, but also some of his leadership that we're going to have to lean on in this time. So I think Rice is for me more important. Ozil was just like the cherry on top to everything that we thought we had at the time. Turns out we were missing a couple of pieces there, and that's why the results were the way they were. My rating for this, I guess I have 2 ratings depending on how you want to look at it. I'll tell you why. I have it like there's 2 ways. I have it like a 9 out of 10. It can't be 10 because there's so many questions on Havertz in terms of just looking at the players that we brought in. But in terms of the needs and stuff, I think we still need. I think I'm giving it a 7 as a whole. So if you were asking me, it would be like a 7. Havertz, the questions for him, unless if you just look at it based on what we've seen and what we're bringing in, too many questions for Havertz, and hopefully Arteta is able to answer them with the way that he plays. That's going to be key there. It's a lot of money spent on him. I foresee that we may sacrifice other players who have been performing for us because we spent all this money on him. And I'd rather just play the better player than play the player who's worth more, just because you initially thought that's what you needed, but when you put him on the pitch, it doesn't work out. So I'd rather him have that when he gets on the pitch, that we see something. That's why I was really, really hoping that when he came onto the pitch, we would go, all right, cool. We saw there's something there. Yeah, I don't expect him to play out full out for whatever amount of time he's on the pitch, but there's glimpses of something where you can say we can get that for 90 minutes. It'd be looking really good. It just needs to be 1 or 2 things that you can highlight, and I don't think there was much to highlight from his first appearance. And we say, oh no, but you look at some of the youngsters that were out there. Balogun had a couple of chances that he missed. You had Nwaneri, make a couple of plays, and you're like, so you can showcase some of your skill. You don't have to have a complete game to show what you can bring. And we saw the same thing last season, I said, with Jesus. So I was hoping to see the same thing from Havertz based on where he's been the last couple of years. Didn't happen, so we'll have to see how that goes. I think that's going to be it's a big weight for him. So a lot of people are like, see, that's what you get, and then he's just going to have to answer them, show them that no, I still have something left to give to this game. So that's what I'm hoping for, but I want to see it each time he comes out. It doesn't, not saying we need to let him go, but I just don't want it to, you've got Trossard, you've got Emile Smith-Rowe, who, what I've seen are ready to play, based on the last time we saw them. And we hope, they continue to improve the squad. So that's kind of 7 for me. Not as strong as you guys, but it's, that's kind of the way I see it. Yeah. Based on the players we brought in, the talented and all of that, they're pretty good. Not too many questions on Timber and Rice. No. Right? We know what they're going to give. Are they similar to some of the, like Rice is not equal to Partey. They both give you different things. Rice will be on the pitch pretty much every game is required. We don't have to worry. We shouldn't have to worry about that. Knock on wood. So that's going to be a plus. Timber, if he shows he has a lot of potential, if he showcases that and we see a lot more of that, we'll be so happy. Havertz just has to answer the critics, basically.
Yeah, and to do enough so that we the critical part of Arsenal fans don't shine their light on him. He does well enough, and we hope that for him. KSA have overspent on Rice. He isn't worth 105 million. Yeah. We've gotten the best midfielder on the market, in my opinion. Yeah. And the price is determined by the market and the selling club. Yeah. And we had to push the boat out a little bit to get him. And maybe Man City.
Got to remember Man City made a bid as well.
Yeah, Man City pushed us a little bit to spend a little bit more than we wanted to, right, Sam? But
then we would have had the criticism, we don't spend to get the players. Then we would have had that. And now we get the criticism, we pay too much. You've got to pay what the market dictates. Yeah. You've got to pay what if there's bids for him and the club keeps rejecting, you've got to take what they accept.
Sure.
And that's Henry Ray Baker is a Liverpool fan, so you have to understand ambition and
Yeah.
spending.
Well, we missed out on Mudryk
So-
because we didn't want to put up the money like Chelsea did. It had nothing to do with the value. It had to do with how the money got, how the installments were made. And everybody laughed at us and said Chelsea came in and just took the player away from you. And then we just did that to City. Oh no, you overspent. Well,
Yeah.
if you compare the two players, it's not even close. Not even close. Rice and Mudryk, different levels.
Yeah,
Different levels. One
exactly.
is doing it in the Premier League, doing it for the England squad. Not even close. And City, of course, probably doesn't need him, but you add him to their team, it makes it even easier for them, right? For us, it lowers our risk of not winning anything. He increases our potential to win something,
Yeah.
be higher up in the table, more points, all of that stuff.
What Rice
So
What Rice is going to do for us is boost our goal difference by 20 goals. He's going to allow us to score 10 more goals and allow us to concede 10 less goals. Rice is not going to score 15 or 20 goals by himself this season, although he may weigh in with a few goals. Henry Ray Baker, I will just say I think Darwin had a good season for you last season, but I also think you overpaid for Darwin as well. So there's clubs will do this.
yeah.
They'll have to overplay for the
Manchester
overplay.
United overspent on Anthony, but won a Carabao Cup, so I guess it's worth it, right?
I just saw that. That statement there from Henry Ray Baker. You're welcome to your opinion, sir.
It'll be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because they
You're
will
welcome
go
to your
ahead.
opinion,
ahead.
but
I don't know if we have.
what
I
you-
don't know
what
if
you've
we
written there
skipped
is just
over
plain
Biggs'
garbage.
question.
It's just
though,
garbage.
so,
Rice is not garbage. Rice will improve us definitely, and it'll be interesting if Zabazlai and McAllister can feed.
Alexis
your
McAllister
forwards.
is gonna. This Henry Ray hasn't watched Rice. It's as simple as that. He hasn't watched him play. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Stan, it's a little bit of football rivalry, a little bit of banter, and you have to back your club. And Liverpool need that defensive midfielder still for their midfield, Stan.
Just talking about, saying that we've overpaid, they've overpaid. I think in the last few years, I think nearly every transfer that's been made in the Premier League, I think has been overpaid. And I think a lot of it, probably for me, just in my opinion, stems from the Jack Grealish transfer, which was the first one to reach that big number. Although it was in euros, it was still 100.
Yeah.
And I think lots of owners who were looking at selling any assets were trying to use that as a benchmark. You see Chelsea coming in with Fernandes, which was the actual British transfer, but albeit from a foreign club of 106 million. So I mean, this is where we are. I mean, you only have to look at as well. I think players' salaries as well seem to have gone up a little bit as well. But it's almost like everything's gone up by 20%. What you used to pay 40 million for, you've now got to pay sort of like 65 for.
Yeah.
The wages wise, what you'd maybe pay somebody 40 to 60 grand a week, you now have to pay maybe like 80 to 100 grand a week. Everything seems to have jumped up a little bit. Whereas, everyday people like you and I, our economy has stayed the same, and we're having to pay out more for everything, like mortgages and food and eggs. So it does seem a little bit skewed at the moment. But your original question was again? What was it? You said I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but your original question was something different.
I don't know. I lost track.
Ray doesn't remember that.
Okay, well, I'll just leave that as that little segment there then.
No, I mean,
I just want to make a comment because I saw the stat go, and I like to see what those stats are. They talked about Darwin with 15 goals and 7 assists, but that's for all competitions. But I kind of look at the Premier League as kind of my barometer, and it was 9 and 3. So, we had 5 players with those numbers on our squad, right, and didn't cost anywhere near that amount. If you look at it, look at any of them, Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, Erdegaard, even Trossard, all had better numbers than that. None of them cost the same price as a Darwin. So, I'd rather go with the Premier League numbers to compare because that's we say that's the toughest league in the world.
You can't bring out facts, Gary. Facts is not allowed.
Oh, sorry. So let's go back to it then. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Darwin's better. No.
Okay, so
no, just kid.
you'll say, Henry, you'll say, and it's just a little bit of banter here. You'll say that you had the worst season ever. You still finished 5th at the end. We did beat you at the Emirates, and we should have beaten you at Anfield. So you took 1 point from 6 from us last season. You may or may not do better next season. Who knows? And that's what we're going to see. Everybody has to go again. We have to confirm superiority over Man United, Newcastle, Tottenham, Brighton, and Liverpool, and take on Man City as well. Which, with this signing of Declan Rice, Yuri Timber, and Havertz, I believe we can move forward now. We're raising the level of the squad that's going to the US to continue their preseason. So with all that being said, I just wanted to get back to and revel a little bit in the Declan Rice thing. And the first thing he said in the interview, Sam, was a massive thank you to the Arsenal fans. He's now understanding how big this fan base is and how he's going to see it when he comes to the States as well.
Yeah, I think he realises now what a big club Arsenal is. You know, West Ham, with all due respect to them, they're not really a very big club. You know, their stature is nowhere near what our stature is, and I think he's seeing that. I think through the time he's been linked to us, I think he's seen, you know, how much really we are, you know, bigger than West Ham in terms of our coverage, intensity, our fan base, and all of that. You know, and the Declan. It was funny. I saw this tweet the other day. I think it was just yesterday or the day before, where it must have been yesterday because with the official announcement of Rice. I believe it was from the official Arsenal page. It got retweeted and liked like 3 times more than the Manchester City winning the treble tweet from the Manchester City official Twitter page. So that shows you pretty much the levels we've got going on here. You know, I think he's realising that now, and it's lovely, that whole video thing, you know, that there's been going on with Adidas. You know, showing that, you know, you can make the transition from south to you know, to east to north and all of that. Yeah. You know, as Ian Wright did. Ian Wright came from the south. You know, Crystal Palace. He came up to Arsenal and became a North Londoner, Gooner. You know, and that whole Ian Wright, you know, relationship with Declan Rice and stuff is great as well. No, it's fantastic. I think he realizes now the size of the club, and I think he wants to be part of the history coming at Arsenal. Now you saw that whole presentation thing with Edu showing all the, you know, all the stuff we've got at the Colney there with all the, you know, the history, you know, the all the different pictures and everything, and how we've got a whole new wall set up there for the new history of the club coming. And, you know, I think Declan now at 24, he has the potential to be, you know, get his picture up there, you know, with some trophies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He also mentioned as well that he first noticed about how big the Arsenal fan base was when he was at West Ham. They went away on a tour somewhere, and he said that the people that came to see him, he goes, there were 2 fan bases. He goes, there was the West Ham fan base, and then there was the Jack Wilshere Arsenal fan base that also turned up. Yeah, and Jack Wilshere was with him. Because that's what I realised, how like intense the fan base of Arsenal can be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's even getting a little bit of banter from Stormzy as well. You know, he shouldn't have chose Arsenal, but he had to. You know what I mean? And the facilities, Gary, the facilities he mentioned Man United. He saw Man United's facilities and they weren't up to snuff, apparently, compared to the house that Wenger built.
They've still got outdoor toilets at Manchester United.
Yeah, but a lot of this is down to the vision of Arsene Wenger. We got to call Arsene Wenger out and give him props, because he built the stadium, he built the London Colney, and the facilities and everything there is just top notch. And as he says, Gary, you cannot be comfortable in these surroundings. Everything's geared for winning.
Yep, and everybody should be talking the same message. I mean, like I think last last season when people were talking about it. They didn't talk about winning big. We need to be doing that because that shows what we're trying to accomplish. So yeah, and we got one of our leaders or future leaders on the squad. We'll see with Rice talking about that. That's why he came here. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, no, it should be good. I haven't heard much of the stories on Rice, but I know just we know based on what you've seen from him and also the way that he came into the facilities and all of that. He looks like business trying to go to work, as he said, essentially. So yeah. We'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing him on the pitch. And
definitely.
Yeah, I mean the fact that Partey didn't make the trip means do we see Rice on Wednesday? Does he get a start?
Yeah, hard to know if he's going to be thrown right in there, but maybe
probably
this time next week.
Probably second half, like Jesus came in the second half. So, but yeah, and based on the way that second half of our last match went, it's like the more we're on the pitch with our our best 15 or 16 players, the more time they have to gel. I know it's preseason. I don't think it's a waste not having them on there. I think it benefits them to be on the pitch playing football against people who aren't their own teammates who are trying to get something over on them. So I think there is something to these preseason matches, even if we don't really care about the results. I do want to see the performances kind of start to improve. When the games count, you don't have time to we can't. People said City can just sit around and kind of feel their way around in the first couple of games. I don't think we can do that. We're not at that level. We need to come out ready to play day one and try to go all 38. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So. I see it as a ramping up. Listen, we played Watford and Nuremberg, and they were never going to be really games. At the risk of annoying Gary here, they were never really going to be games that the players would be 100% up for, but now we're going to go.
That's the mentality. That's terrible. That's like going in. I'm just going to go in and be happy. Now you're making me say this.
I said at the risk of
going in half-ass and then asking them to go full speed ahead later on. No, you're going to play the damn game. You know what I mean? Yeah. Why don't waste the trip? That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're going to go out there, try to get something out of it. You want to be able to come off of that pitch going, I need to work on some things, and I got to work on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like I just went out there for a little run with the fellas. Nah, that's
right.
a waste.
I'm going to change the top. I'm going to change the subject now.
Yeah. Move on.
Imagine if Gary gets his wish, and on Wednesday Rice comes on in the second half, and one of the opposition players goes sliding in a tackle.
That could happen in any game.
For 6 months.
No. You can't just bring it up and then go, oh, that can happen in any game. When we play Manchester United, does it make it any different? No. He still needs to get out there and play. The chances that you're going to get hurt playing a sport are the same, regardless of, what are you going to save them for? He can go in the first game of the season, and the same thing can happen. So, no. You can't. If you play scared, guess what? You're going to look scared, and you're not going to give your all.
Yeah.
So you got to go out there and play just like you would any other game. That's why I do like. That's why the one part I do like about Tierney is it seems like he always is practicing the way he plays. If it's snowing out, it doesn't matter. He's got his shirt and shorts on. That's all. You know what I mean? And I like. You can't. I don't think you can just turn it off and on. So that's the way I think, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Canterbury Gunner, Reddy said, friendly or not, we must beat Man United next weekend. Stan, slight pivot here. Declan Rice has left West Ham, and probably for him the best possible way, right? For most of the fans, but there's still a percentage of those West Ham fans that are calling him a Judas.
You're always going to get a little bit of that, and I think as well that West Ham were a little bit annoyed that we took so long to finally sign the contract. But I always felt that it would be done before Sunday, just because I felt that Mikel Arteta would have probably demanded that this player is going to be on pre-season with them. He doesn't want that hanging out, so they left it right to the last moment. And if you look at the message from West Ham and you compare it to the goodbye message from Ajax for Yuri and Timber, the West Ham one is a little bit more curt. I don't think there's any mention of Arsenal. Not that it bothers me, but maybe it's just a little. I don't think we're going to be doing business as West Ham in the near future. I'm just going to say that.
That's the one and only player we've ever signed from West Ham, apparently. You know what I mean? But yeah, Sam, kind of the same question to you. Declan Rice, he can leave West Ham knowing he's given them a trophy for the first time in 43 years.
Yeah, I mean, he left at a great time, really. I mean, he's helped them bring their first European trophy for a long, long time. You know, it's a great way to go out, isn't it? You know, you give them
Yep.
something and then you move on because he knows they're not going to do much in the league, and it's getting a European trophy like that is pretty much a one-off. So he wants to move on to better things. He wants to improve his career. So yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to see. I really hope Declan Rice brings the things we think he can bring to Arsenal and develop and turn into that really influential midfielder that we hope he can. West Ham have always been a sort of salty club, though, aren't they? They got their youth academy. They got a very good youth academy, but they just can never, can never transfer that into making a proper team that actually does something properly on the pitch. It's they've had one or two decent seasons, maybe in the last 15, 20 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. But look at all the players they've brought through their academy. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's where all their money's come from. And they haven't been able to make anything out of that. The team they could have made through that academy, is big names have gone off to do big things at big clubs, have come through the youth academy at West Ham. And they've obviously got this great setup there, for the way of doing things, but they just can't translate it into making the first team do anything great, apart from winning now. I suppose they want to call the Conference League a great achievement, but it's literally a Mickey Mouse trophy made about 5 minutes ago. But yeah, I mean, I suppose it's a decent way of going out, though, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. He goes on to talk about in the interview, looking at Arsenal. Gary, I'll go to you with this one first. Looking at Arsenal at the All or Nothing documentary, us Arsenal fans watched it with a mixture of wanting to know what was going on behind the scenes, but also maybe feeling a little bit cringy at some of the things that were implemented, not least for me, the "you'll never walk alone" thing on the pitch. But Rice references this in his interview that it was a big factor in seeing how Arteta operated, and players liked what he's doing. You know what I mean? So it was a big part in his decision to move.
Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback on some of the stuff you were talking about there.
Yeah.
Rice wanted to leave sooner, and because he's loyal to the club, said, "Yeah, I'll stay another year." So the fans, even the club, they knew he was going to go. So and then when they go out with a trophy, means he gave him 100%, right?
Yeah.
So he gave them, more than he was going to give them if he had left a year sooner. So they should be happy that they got that, because he could have been gone already. But yeah, no, I think, as you said, you talk to somebody in an interview, but then you see them at work. Now you get another viewing into how things might be. And Arteta's going to do some weird things, as we've seen from the videos. He's it looked embarrassing to some of us. It was embarrassing to some of us, but you know what? It just shows what he's willing to put in front of his players, and he believes a lot of that. He believes that stuff. And if you see someone put out something they're confident about it, you know what? Let me give it a try and see how it goes. So I think, yeah, as you said, that All or Nothing probably was a positive for Arsenal, in the sense that you saw how Arsenal worked behind the scenes, how the players were interacting with each other, and the things that he said he wanted to do, I believe, were showcased in that video. He said he wanted to do this, bring the fans back. He wanted to, I think he wanted the team to be a certain way. All of that was definitely shown in the video. Some of it I thought it was cheesy stuff, but it's what they needed to do to get themselves as one, and we see that, and people want to be part of that. We keep talking about Arsenal, the way that they're playing. Everybody wants, they want to be involved in that. Whenever they bring up a team on the rise, they always point to Arsenal, to what we've done. there's a reason for that. You know, it does definitely breed some sort of success. So yeah, no, it's definitely good to see that side of things. And then, as you say, I would like to have seen some more, but that was, they gave us more than enough to get an idea of what's going on behind the scenes. And when you see stuff on the pitch, you go, okay, it's probably something they worked on. So looking forward to that. I think, yeah, that's all I got on that one. But yeah,
I think Sam had his hand up. He had something he wants to.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Thank
I
you,
remember way back when the Amazon documentary was announced, and we had discussions around it, and generally the consensus was, "Oh, it might not be a very good thing," and blah blah blah, and
Distraction.
there's actually people going to say, "Oh, it's gonna harm us and not do any good for us," and blah blah blah. All the doomsayers, all the negative
naysayers.
naysayers. But it turned out to be a great thing for us. The documentary, it showed so much of what actually goes on at Arsenal, answered a lot of questions, and actually now has proven to help sign Declan Rice. So the Amazon documentary wasn't a bad thing after all.
Yeah. And when you look at you look at some of those other videos, right? Like, are they good marketing material for their teams? Some of them not, right? I mean, that team had a video. They did a similar thing, right? Any of that look like, if you're a fan or a player, like, it doesn't look well. It doesn't look good.
We all will have our subjective and individual thoughts on it.
But we've got some stuff on ours as well. Like Ray said, the whole, you never walk alone playing that on a training ground.
I didn't like that.
Anything.
But
that's pretty pathetic.
For me, though, the one where he goes, "Is it the journey or the destination?" And he went, "Lacazette, you tell me."
Lacazette didn't know what to say at all.
Lacazette had that expression where, when you're not listening, you're thinking about, what am I going to have for dinner? And then you hear your name in the classroom. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're supposed to say. That's what that was. That Lacazette.
We had some cringeworthy things in that documentary, but overall, that documentary was a big bonus.
In hindsight,
it was a big positive.
Yeah.
In hindsight, but you have to say though that going into it, I thought it could be a big distraction, especially where the manager was at that time. The season that would come off the back of going through a rebuild, looking at some of the other similar videos from other teams that I'd seen, like I thought the Tottenham one. There was some in that were just like, fucking hell. And I just thought to myself, the last thing we need now is to have something like that go out just as we're rebuilding with this young manager, and now we're getting all this noise from people taking the piss. So I was nervous. I thought it could be a distraction, but in hindsight, it turned out wonderful. What's the other one? What was the other one? What do you see? A rabbit or a duck? It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, look, there was a few things. Well, me and Gary, I remember it, Gary, you and I, the thing at Anfield where Arteta shared, he hid at Anfield many, many years ago, and you didn't like him bringing that negative connotation to the players just before they're going to go play at Anfield.
It did. Like, you're going into a situation like that, into a stadium that is overwhelming already, because of course you play there, and you haven't had any luck there. So here we are. We're going to bring videos into the locker room, and now we're going to bring up how I was, I was hiding out there on the pitch. I mean, no, just like the message could have been put on. Let's put it on the practice field, maybe. Yeah. And then, but in the locker room before the match, nah, come on. The last thing I want my players thinking about is how my coach was not prepared to play out there on the pitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's talk about he had a plan. The plan seemed to be working for the first 20 or 30 or so minutes or so at that point, and then it fell apart. But like I said, not a good message for what I was. Not a good message.
Just when you want some words of inspiration, the moment you want it, you're being told you're basically going to shit yourself when you go out. So,
it's like, don't waste the trip. I was just like, he didn't want his players to not waste the trip, Gary.
He wasted
the trip.
The last time I was here, I walked out onto the pitch, and then I had to go back into the locker room and change my underwear. I was just not a good. What? No, coach, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear about just about you overcoming, this juggernaut called Liverpool in Anfield, right? And we
Yeah.
had a chance to do that this past season. We didn't do it, but
We
we
didn't
came
seal the
close,
deal.
right?
Yep.
But you
Correct.
know what?
It obviously
We've
shows
shown
you.
that we have answers. Yeah.
It obviously shows you how honest Mikel Arteta is, because if there was ever a time to lie, that was it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Just lie, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. They want. Yeah, when you talk about like rah rah, fire my players up. The last thing you're not gonna say about your dark days, right? You're talking about
Yeah.
the good days, right? So
Don Juan,
like you bring up what 89, right? So that's what you bring up,
that's the one.
right?
Yeah.
Right? You bring up
Yeah.
89. Look,
Yeah.
nah,
But
it doesn't.
there's
You
also
play.
one there.
Give me 90 minutes like in 89. Guess what? Good things will happen to you too. You know what I
I
mean?
think
we
I
played
think
90
Arteta-
minutes in the last time at Anfield. We get the win. We
Yeah.
didn't play for 90 minutes.
I think Arteta's also won there, but he chose to say something like that. Look, Declan Rice will take on board what he wanted from the All or Nothing. It was a big tool for him to understand behind the scenes. Mikel, the energy from the young players, and he said the challenge of lifting Arsenal to the top, and the Arteta factor was big for him. I think also we have a generational gap where Arsene Wenger is still relevant to some of these players, and you look and see our history, albeit 20 years ago in the league, and we've won a few cups in between, but we've definitely underperformed in 20 years. And listen, there's some kind of breaking news on Twitter we've got to sort of address here.
No. But did you see that? Really said I'll get to see Runason when I go to the football.
We hope not.
Yeah.
on
You want
Saturday.
to have a sign saying, "Runnison, can I have your shirt?"
There you go. It won't be
Um,
worn. It's like no, it won't be worn. There'll be no sweat marks on it or anything.
Yeah,
I won't have
brand
to,
new.
I won't even have to dry clean it. No.
Oh boy.
Like I know he's one of our players, but I mean that's why.
Okay,
Why?
ready to do this, Gary?
Go on. Sorry.
Don Juan, Sam does his best work in that position. So Sam, stay where you are. And
Don Juan, why don't you lie down, man? Take a load off, lie down.
he said, "Sit up, Sam." But you stay right where you are. Everybody
Sam does all his best work horizontal. We all know that.
Yes.
Clock Orange. Thank
That
you
is,
for
you know what?
subscribing.
Just a second.
Appreciate it.
I'm trying to just purge that. Can we rewind that back just a little bit? Because Sam, I'm sorry. I love you and all, but no, I don't want to.
Does his best work there. Listen,
Well,
I'm trying to
Yes,
get this.
you
I'm
like
trying to- I'm trying to get this started on my head. I'm sorry.
so with breaking news, Stan,
Yes.
we'll go to you with the breaking news.
I was just going to say, I was just going to add in there, Gary claiming to go both ways, not with last week.
Gary likes it vertical, horizontal. And
I learned a lot about Gary in last week's show, man.
He's a Harrier jump jet.
Gary, you live your best life. You just live your best life.
Listen, in the pursuit of perfection, you have to be willing to go both ways. You know?
Yes.
There's levels to this, as Gary said.
There's
Both
levels
ways,
to it,
yeah.
man. Hey, you don't know until you tried it, kind of thing, right? Remember
Gary's
that
getting-
one?
Gary's
You haven't even
getting
tried it
banded
yet.
with
Try
his
these
own.
Brussels sprouts. They're gonna be
Listen.
good for you. No, Mom, I don't want it.
I made
No,
a, I
let's
made a,
try it.
listen, all I'm going to say is I did make a mistake once in Thailand, but that's another story
You
for
made a
another time.
mistake.
All right. The breaking news, Stan.
Oh,
The Premier League player will be charged to have charges dropped on the 18th, 2 days' time. That's why he's not on the plane to USA. We need to hope for charges dropped. I prefer to think that
Okay.
maybe there's a sale involved here. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. But this is
How do
what
we know?
Twitter-
Yeah, has Twitter just come up with that? Because obviously, we do. I just was reading this morning that a big bid is coming from Saudi Arabia, and before that, we were hearing that Juventus was sniffing, and that was his preferred destination. But from the story I was reading this morning, it sounded like that he's agreeing to go to Saudi Arabia. So you would think that that's one of the reasons, right? Why he wouldn't be on the plane if they're
Yeah.
negotiating, and maybe Twitter's come up with this as an alternative. I'm not saying it's not true, by the way. I don't know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I thought you said the big news was going to be that Mike Dean is now going to be on Sky Sports, given his perspective of the match from the officials' view.
First you come with Harry Maguire, then you come with Mike Dean. What
Okay,
next?
I'm bringing the news, man. The things that people want to know.
Those are the small little segments at the bottom of the newspaper.
Yeah, there's a little
When-
ticket tape.
When
Oh my God.
Stan picked up the back pages of Dennis Bergkamp as signed for Arsenal, 7.5 million. It was 75% of the back page. And then you have a small little thing at the bottom. Mike Dean has been removed from VAR duties, you know. Right. So,
Clock Orange. I'm going to the. It says New York, but it's actually New Jersey. The New Jersey match. They claim New York just because it's it's 30 miles away from New York or 25 miles away, but it's
Across the river.
New Jersey.
just
So-
over the river, right?
Yeah,
It'll
yeah,
be a When Ray Meets Gary episode.
yeah. That's right. I get to see him at the train station. We'll take the train in.
New Jersey is the basically the
Don't
the
even go
garbage-
there.
garbage
No.
pit of New York.
No, not anymore.
The armpit of New
It
York.
used to be
is
the
over
armpit
Flynn.
of the states, but no, not anymore, dude.
If the Partey rumors are true, then we need to bring in really good central midfielders.
Yeah.
And I think we've known maybe Thomas Partey wants to move. Granit Xhaka wanted that new challenge. So we've known from maybe the start of this window that two of our central midfielders would be moving on. And Romeo Lavia has not gone anywhere yet. You know what I mean?
Casado's not gone anywhere, so we've got like two targets that we could get right now if we wanted to.
Mhm.
Put the money on the table, right? I think Lavia is a lot cheaper than
You see, you see this,
Casado.
the statement by the club is very interesting because
Yeah.
if Partey was entwined in a court case
Entwined, I like that.
and
Tangled.
there was a chance he's not coming because they're going to charge him, they wouldn't write that. They wouldn't write that he's expected to come next week. You've got to be careful with the way, because Arsenal's,
Yeah.
they're not going to mess around and write things that are probably not going to be true. So
Yeah.
I think he's just injured. He's slightly injured. Like I think ESR is not injured. I think he's just on
No,
a-
but that message and what you're saying, it could happen because they're saying on the 18th it won't be an issue.
no, but I don't think he's got
that-
anything to do with the
that-
charges.
I hope not, but we don't know. We don't even know who.
I
We
think
don't even
he's
know
just
we're talking
injured.
about.
I think he's-
Right
I
now,
think
we're
he's
just
slightly
we're
injured.
this. There's so many unknowns in this whole thing. Somebody got charged. Somebody played
Listen
football
to
in
me. What I'm
English.
telling you. Listen to me.
I don't want to.
Arsenal, when they write that a player is coming next week, they wouldn't write that if there's a chance he's going to be going to court and not coming out.
Right. Yeah.
They wouldn't write that. So he's on extended leave together with ESR. ESR's been given extended leave because of his in the World Cup thing on
Yeah.
Euro
European Championships.
European Championships. Partey's also been given extended leave. Now, they're both coming next week. That's what that statement's saying.
We'll
Now,
join next week.
if Partey was entangled in a court case, they wouldn't write that.
It's lawyer speak, Stan.
And maybe it's a case of as well that they're saying he'll be coming to join us next week, so that if there is a transfer negotiation going on, the buying club, that's kind of like a nudge to say, you want to get this done quick because we've got plans to make, and
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds like he's moving to me.
It's a lot of things up in the air, right? With
It
Partey.
sounds like it does sound like to me that he's moving, and
Which then double down on why is Havertz here? Because we needed more defensively in our midfield. If we're thinking that Partey might not be part of the future going on here,
Mhm.
for me the 65 is more the issue is because it takes a lot of your funds away from maybe able to get. Because now it could be the case you let Partey go, you're not going to get that much for him, right? That we want, and then we're going to have to try to get a big player. Would you want they got Lavia, they got Casado, they got Tchouaméni, those players all at 3 different levels in the price scale.
Yeah.
And I think we need at least one of
Yeah.
them, right?
You see,
So-
for me, right, as much as I enjoy Thomas Partey as a footballer, and I see people writing things like Declan, Partey for one more year of Declan Rice. I get all of that, and I think that Thomas Partey could definitely still have something that he could bring to the Arsenal team. But as I've mentioned before, and this is just my opinion, I definitely think that Thomas Partey leaving is the best thing for all parties concerned, because as I've mentioned before, we've all got ears. And he's getting it from away fans a lot. And you know what it's like in the UK, we use that as a weapon, don't we? If you've got anything against an opposition player, a section of the crowd uses that because in their mind, they're trying to weaken the other side to help their team win. And in my opinion, I think that has played a big part in the reasons why he had a big drop-off in form at the end of last season. And if everybody could hear that noise, it sounds to me that the management have sat down with him and said, look, it's best you try to revive your career somewhere else outside of England, because this won't stop for a while. This isn't going to stop. It's not going to get any better if you move to another club in the Premier League. Maybe you need to try somewhere else, because it does sound like up until the lead up of this transfer, which looks like it's going to happen, Thomas Partey's been trying to say that I want to stay. He hasn't been itching for the move. He's been saying, I actually want to stay. And it seems like it's Arsenal that are sort of like putting feelers out to clubs and trying to encourage a sale. No. So I think it's best for everyone concerned that Thomas Partey leaves.
I just was wondering, do you remember, who is it? Vinicius Jr. Do you remember he was playing in a match and the fans were screaming at him saying derogatory things?
Yes.
The racist thing, yeah.
There's not that whatever Partey's running away from, if it is in fact Partey and fans are going after him, it's not going away. He's talking about going to Juventus. It's not going away. You know what I mean?
He's going to go to somewhere like Saudi Arabia. I mean, I went to another football match last night, Whitecaps against the LA Galaxy, and again, it's such a it's such a less intense affair, and even when it's so calm there that the opposition fans, there's no separate place for the opposition fans to sit because they might get beat up. They just sit wherever they want.
You're talking about a sport that's in its infancy in the Americas. You take somebody, you go to a hockey match, you go to a football match, an American football match. You're going to get some of that crazy. You're going to get some of that crazy.
Saudi Arabia, and it'd be three guys watching the game.
No.
And if anyone does shout something out, they'll probably be.
Go to Philadelphia, you'll know all about it.
They'll be whisked out of the crowd and never seen again.
I hear what you're saying. I just don't. I mean, you can run away from your problems sometimes, or run away from that stuff. It's just when you put yourself in the public light, people will say what they got to say. It just.
I think, in my opinion, the guy is mentally strong, and he's had physical issues that we know that have been a major problem for a while.
Yes.
We need him to resolve that. Hopefully it is being resolved. Because his availability has been a huge issue. His availability, when he plays for us and he's actually in form, which is not often, he's a very, very good, influential player. But there's so often he's not fully fit. He's playing with an injury.
So can I just ask you then? So you think at the end of last season, when he had that huge drop-off, it was more of a physical problem and had nothing to do with anything?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it was a physical. I think it was more physically related. That's my opinion. It's more physically related than mentally. For me, Partey, I think he wants to stay.
Yeah, I get that feeling. I get that feeling as well. He said, didn't he? I came here initially to help us get into the Champions League. Now I want to play in it. He said that a couple of times.
Yeah. Exactly. I want to see him play for us in the Champions League.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, also like when he was playing well, you think nobody was saying anything to him in the crowd. Like we were top of the league for what? How many games? Up to like the 30th game of the season. I mean, you telling me not one of those games after, I think the calls are there.
It all season away from
the calls are there. It's a late, as Sam said, and also another thing, the late game the late season kind of dips that we have is. I think it's for me. That's why I've been calling for rotation forever. Is because we need it. Big teams do it. We don't talk about it because we only talk about the big games where everybody plays. But there are other games when when you see a team lose, you look at the lineup. It's not the same as the one that just played in the Champions League. So I kind of feel like that's also key to this thing. So that's why it's good to bring these players in. Having Xhaka and Partey leave, and we're not bringing in. We need to double up the numbers that we're bringing in, right? I think that's what we need to do. I mean, we need to give ourselves the better odds to have. I'd rather have the problem that we got too many players as opposed to what we've seen the last couple of seasons. We don't have enough.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We've always had that problem. I'd rather have, like right now, we seem to be stacked up front, a little bit weak in the middle of some of the spots, if you want to call it that. And then on the back line as well, we got some questions that could be answered there. So, yeah.
I do think if we lose Partey and the person that comes in is Lavia, I do think that we are slightly. I don't think that we're any stronger in our midfield than where we were with Partey and Xhaka. But if we bring in maybe a Tukameni, a De Jong, someone maybe of that stature, or a Casado, wow, I would say wow. My only concern in all of our business would still be Kai Havertz to see what happens there. But other than that, a Rice, Timber, a Caicedo, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be very good for the midfield.
As Clock Orange asked the question in a timely way here, guys, do you think we have a good enough team to just not to just challenge it in the league, but also win? I think he's saying, and yeah, I think so. I think we have a number of players, 5 or 6 players who can get 15 goals in the league. Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka should be able to do it. We should have a few more players who can do that.
And you look at our squad, we improved.
We've improved the squad. Look what they did last year. Yes, it's a new season has come and you have to prove yourself again against the Manchester Uniteds and the Liverpools and the Newcastles of this world. But
I think the squad would have improved or has improved, but I'm still worried about the depth a little bit. I would like us to be able to, when it comes to the Champions League, I'd like to see us get out of the groups. If we can do that on our first return, I'd be satisfied with that, and we do well in the league. But I still worry a little bit about depth. Oh, they're coming.
I think our depth is pretty much close to being there, to be honest, because we have so much flexibility throughout the squad. And I think that's part of the planning with Arteta as well. I think he looks at players playing in different roles. So there's not just going to be one player for each position as their cover. You're going to see players that can play in different positions. And that's by design. That is so we get that extra flexibility when needed. And you look at the back now, that the back is stacked. I mean, crikey, you've got we got Mr. Japan there. He's a bit of a question mark now. I mean, he's a decent player.
I think he's back in. I think he's training in that, isn't he, Sam? Tomiyasu.
Yeah, I think he's getting back in. He's getting back in.
Is he on the tour? Is he on the tour?
I think so. I think so. I think I saw his name there, if I'm not completely mistaken. But yeah, he's coming back. And then you got this new Timber guy who's very talented. Looks like he's going to come in and be the new right back. Ben White did fantastic in that position last season. Still got him. Then you've got Kivior, who is looking very promising. And then we've got the big boys, Gabriel, Saliba, and then we've got Zinchenko and Tierney. I mean, when it comes to the back line, we are stacked.
Yeah.
Plenty of cover that can cover each other in all ways.
Cedric.
And then in the midfield, I'm trying to get rid of him.
Cedric and Holding. Rob Holding.
Yeah, I'm guessing Holding and Cedric are going to be going this summer, because I see we're looking at bids from different teams for Holding as well.
Cedric, I was reading Cedric's only worth about 1.something million. There's not a lot there, right? So I think that if they can't get a few coppers for him, they'll probably just end up calling that one quits and letting him go off on his own. And probably the same with Pepe as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don Juan says he thinks we need City to fall off a little bit, and they're going to have to rotate a few players out. We see Kyle Walker, everything that's natural at a normally well-run club.
You know what's
These
interesting
players
with
have to move
Manchester
on.
City? There's a lot of question marks there now in terms of there's a lot of players who are looking at moving on.
Yep.
They've already lost Gundogan. Gundogan's gone on to Barcelona.
Cancelo.
Apparently, several of the other players are looking at maybe leaving.
I lost
Yep.
Cancelo.
What did you say, Stan?
Cancelo,
Cancelo. He went, didn't he?
Yeah.
Cancelo.
Silva might be going.
He's already gone. You know, there's a lot going on at City there and you got to remember when you've won the treble and you've won the season 3 years in a row, you will no matter with even with Pep Guardiola there
Yeah.
and that team he's got around him, you gotta have some complacency issues. You got to have some. Can you keep up that level? You know, consistently again. And when you've got players who are thinking, right, I've won the treble now, I've won the league, I've won everything you can win at this club, they're going to want to move on. There's many players, they're mercenaries there. Many of the players there are not bound to Manchester City by their blood and kin and family, and they're there for the money and they've won everything. They've got all their bonuses. They want to move on and do something different. I think after this, I think we're going to see maybe next season. I think even Manchester City, in my opinion, they're still going to be favourites. They're still going to be right up there at the end. But are they going to be what they did last season again? I'm not sure.
Mhm.
This is the thing for us now. If we're lucky and they drop off a little bit now because of everything that's could potentially be going on with them behind the scenes, and we step up now with an improved squad, it could open the door for us. And was I correct in reading that? I only read very briefly. I didn't read everything. Arsene Wenger was talking to ESPN, I believe,
Sort
and
of Frank.
he reckons we're going to win the league.
Yeah.
He reckons we're going to win the league next season. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think some of those points you make are correct because, I mean, the season hadn't even finished and I was already reading towards the end of last season stories about how Haaland's probably only got one more season at Man City so that they can sell him and make money for him because he's not going to increase his contract. He already has in his mind a career path. So you're right. It's not like I'm at Man City and I'm going to stay for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to commit to the next 10 years. It's a stepping stone in some people's eyes. And, as you say about mercenaries, he's won everything there already in his first season. He's come to England and he's completed it. Like a video game.
Yeah.
He's completed it.
Completely, mate, like the in-betweeners.
He needs a new game there to play. He needs to do something else. So it's whereas we seem to have players which are, it's all fast and furious. It's family, man. It's family.
It's more with us. It's a long-term project. We're building up to winning these things, whereas Manchester City can put all that together and do it pretty much at once. But now they've done it with their current squad. I was reading today. It was you guys should check it out. He's made a very compelling case about it. Not reading, sorry, on his show, the Terry Fleurs and the Football Terrace.
All right.
They were going through the squad. What the rumours now going on with the different players, and there's several key players now who apparently they're looking at new options. And I think there's a lot of unrest coming now in that squad now going forwards.
I read another interesting story, and again, it's football transfer season, so we don't know the validity, but that Mikel Arteta was making an inquiry for another double swoop at Man City for Julian Alvarez and Kyle Walker. And the only reason I like that story because I would like me a bit of Julian Alvarez if that could happen. Wow!
Well, Kyle Walker apparently it might be in talks with someone as well.
Yeah.
Cancelo's back. And look, this is getting back to Declan Rice again. This is a huge thing that he's chosen Arsenal and the challenge that we have of overcoming Man City. Let's assume we're the second best team in the league right now. And that challenge of overcoming 5 to 8 points that we were behind City. because I believe if City needed to win the last couple of games, they probably would have needed to win the last. They probably would have done so. So we're probably about 8 points away from City right now, and Declan Rice has chosen Arsenal and taken on that challenge. It would have been easier for him to go to City and sit back.
Yeah, I mean,
play,
I think
play
City-
less minutes and win more trophies.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
think you've got more chance of winning a trophy quicker if that's your goal. But there's that whole mercenary aspect. I don't think there's that unity and sort of,
Family.
community. I don't think there's that community there
Yeah.
at Manchester
Yeah.
City. I really don't.
It's more of a machine.
Yeah.
You know, it's all working. It's being
You're a
oiled.
cog in a
It's all
machine, basically.
functioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what this
115
also,
charges. We'll see what happens with that.
but
Yes,
what this
Sam?
also does with the Declan Rice coming to Arsenal is that, in future now, when Arsenal are maybe talking to another big player about potentially coming to Arsenal, that those players will listen now because they will see a player of the caliber of Declan Rice, stamping his mark and saying, "I want to go to Arsenal." He wasn't like, "I want to go to Arsenal." What was that, Man City? Oh, Man City.
You know the other thing, Stan.
That looks good for us.
Zin-
That looks very good for us.
The other thing, last season, Jesus came from City, and Zinchenko especially came from City, and he changed the perception of the players. You sometimes go into preseason and say you're the fourth best team in the league, while Zinchenko said, "No, we're not just going for top four. We're going for the whole thing here." Yeah.
What did you think? What did you think about? I think it was a week ago. Gabriel Jesus was on a Brazilian podcast with Denilson, and he was quite revealing. He said something like he knew the moment when he decided that he wanted to leave Man City. I think it was a Champions League game where he'd already played in the previous game, and I think he'd done well. I think he may have scored or an assist. And then they were doing training. Now the next game's coming up, and they're training, and he's training, in the position that he's going to be playing in. And then when it came to the game, he found that he was on the bench, and Zinchenko was now playing in his position through the middle.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Can you believe that?" He goes, "I was so angry." He goes, "I'm training in the position. It's not like we've been training with Zinchenko, who is a left back." He goes, "And now I'm on the bench for a left back." And he said that he rang his mum crying.
Yeah.
He said that he wants that he wants to get out and he wants to leave.
Right. I think Pep Guardiola comes with receipts, and you're going to win things, but you also know you're maybe not going to. You're going to do what he tells you to do.
Yeah.
And you're not going to enjoy your football as much, Sam.
I bet even Zinchenko was like, when he read out a team sheet, I bet even Zinchenko was like, "What? I'm playing where?"
Don Juan said Rodri is the beast in that side. He's the glue. We had the Liverpool fan earlier saying Szoboszlai and McAllister would wipe the floor with Rice. How do you think Rice will fit up against Kevin De Bruyne? That's really going to be the
Well, it's going to be a test for him, isn't it?
right?
It'll be a test for him.
Mm-hmm. And that will be the 8th game. Man City will come to the Emirates on the 8th game of the season.
Oh, wouldn't it be lovely if we could finally beat them?
And put out our best side as well.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Saliba not playing the first 3 games of the season, league games, if he's ready.
But the good thing, though, what you said about the test of Declan Rice going up against Kevin De Bruyne, it's not a test that he doesn't know about. And this is the really great thing. He's played against every team.
Yeah.
He knows this league. He knows the players that he needs to watch, how they play their games, and what he needs to do. So we're laughing in that way. Same with Kai Havertz as well. He should be able to hit the ground running. He doesn't have to settle.
Yes,
they're both coming from
these
London.
are players.
And I think for me that usually when a player comes to Arsenal and they've come from outside of the league, I usually give them about 10 games. So I like to watch them for 10 games to see what they're all about. And I'll probably do the same for Havertz and Rice, but really they should need less than 10 games because they're coming from the same city.
Yeah.
100%. Clock Orange here, who's a new subscriber. Thank you for subscribing. I feel like we lost the league on that Brighton game. That was the one that was so destroying for us. Even after drawing the Liverpool, West Ham, and losing the City, we still had a chance if we had not lost to Brighton and Nottingham Forest. And we didn't push them to the last day of the season either, the last weekend.
No, we dropped off, didn't we? We dropped our form, dropped off. Several reasons for that we've already discussed all of that. But
Yep.
that's hopefully now we're going to avoid with a larger squad with more flexibility in the squad. Hopefully now the squad rotation can get going quite early in the season, and we're going to see more squad rotation now with the Champions League, Premier League, and the domestic cups.
That'll be
And that
interesting.
will hopefully, and if they plan everything correctly and everything, then hopefully we won't see that drop off at the end of the season.
Definitely. Kevin De Bruyne just turned 32 in June. Does he still have
That's
that
the thing.
motivation?
Is he still gonna play at the same level? Got to remember with Kevin De Bruyne, even just a slight drop off is not as effective. It's going to be an advantage for us.
If
All those
If I'm
guys at Man, all those people at Man City, right? They've all been searching for years for the Holy Grail, and they finally got it. They got the Champions League. So what happens? This is an anticlimax now, isn't it?
Mm.
Are they all going to be motivated to go through it again? And like somebody said in the chat box, Pep always seems to change his team around.
Yeah.
It's never the same team, bar one or two
let's
players.
let's look at this as Pep Guardiola. I'm looking at what Arsenal are doing. They're bringing in a really, really good player, spending a lot of money. I'm sort of laying the gauntlet back down to my team and saying, this is the challenge for you again. This is another challenge for you to, again, confirm superiority over Arsenal in the league and cup competitions. So,
Yeah, it'll
Pep,
be interesting to see.
better
if they got
believe.
motivation.
Pep is going to be motivating those players as well.
And then it's going to be up to the players to have and show that motivation. And with everything that's going on behind the scenes there now, there is a lot going on behind the scenes. It's going to be interesting to see if that creates some kind of, less stable performance.
We could be looking at a league coming up where Arsenal and City are 10 or 12 points ahead of the third place team. And if that 90-point barrier is breached by both teams, the top four would be 66 points, 67 points. You know what I mean? So will Man United be good enough? I don't know about that. Will Newcastle, will the other teams be good enough as well? Just rounding up on Declan Rice, then we talked about the history of Arsenal, the Invincibles, and all the pictures that Stan talked about on the wall, Anfield, the tiki-taka football, the facilities, and the fans' expectations. So he said this is a club that's geared toward winning now. And we've come a long way in 5 or 6 years, Gary.
Yes.
Spent a lot of money, but with that comes responsibility now.
Yeah. I think we all, some people, what's crazy is a lot of people said it's going to be about 5 years or so before we get back to where we want to be. And guess what? We're trending that way. And I don't know. And I think it's partly the manager as well as where the squad was. You have maybe a better manager to get a little bit more out of the squad, but they've chosen to go with Arteta, and with that probably comes a slower process, a slower turnaround. So we are, I think after 5 years, we definitely should be where we want to be. But this year, after showing what we did last season, we need to, he needs to compete across the board. That's kind of my barometer. We can't have these kind of slip-ups in the cup matches, and
correct.
He needs to continue to proceed and and be able to compete. And we need more than 12, 13 players. We need at least 15, 16 players to be part of this. Contribute to what we're doing. So yeah, and you guys are talking about City as well, and they're getting older, and De Bruyne was rotating. He had these injuries that popped up every so often, which just think were just part of the rotation for me more than an injury per se, because he seemed to be all ready for them when they needed him in the big games, and so that I think they managed him well that way.
Big management,
and I don't I don't believe they have an answer for him now with losing Gundogan and
Phil
stuff
Foden?
like that.
Maybe.
So
Phil
yeah,
Foden?
we'll see if he can step up. But for me, I would have thought if he was going to be able to step up, you would have saw a lot more of him last season than we did. I don't think we saw enough of him for me to go, all right, he's ready to just come in there and take the reins when when they rotate, because they have lost, and I think Silver is going to be gone as well, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of holes to fill. They might get good players in, but it isn't going to click like it has in the past. I mean, last season, it was just Haaland. Did anybody else come in big last season? I think it was just Haaland, right? So
didn't they bring in that young defender? What was his name?
But did he play much?
Akanji.
Yeah, Akanji.
Akanji. So that was his first year with
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
All
so.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, so I thought it was
so.
just the one, but no, they won't be clicking like they have in the past for sure, but they have a big manager. They have some really good players, and you might be your best bet is to catch him on a bad day, because that's going to happen. And Haaland's not getting worse for sure. So if he adds anything more to his game, and as you say, if Foden shows us why he's one of the better young players, some say better than
Phillips.
Saka. They say he's better than Saka no matter what. So if he is that, we'll see it. And
How could you forget about Phillips, Gary? Mr. Tom won't be happy about that.
Nobody knows who Phillips is. Has anybody seen Phillips play
No.
in a light blue shirt?
They were trying to make him as a make-weight in the Rice deal for City. Stan, Premier League or Champions League next season, you can only win one.
Premier League, I think.
Even though I
don't know,
getting that European pedigree.
It's a hard
I want to
one,
win a Champions League.
I would like. I've always said I would like to see in my lifetime Arsenal in the Champions League.
Yep.
I would like to see that.
I was in Ireland with my nephew in the other room. He was so nervous and watching Man City. He was shitting himself because Inter Milan played quite well. I could hear him screaming when Rodri scored that goal. So we want that moment here for us as Arsenal fans as well. Declan Rice scores the winning goal in the Champions League final. That'd be nice.
We can ask for it all, but I don't think we're there at that point where we can be thinking about trebles, right? We're just right now trying to get me a trophy. I mean, if we've gotten any trophy in the last 2 years, people would be happy with it. So now to say, if you don't get a Champions League or a Premier League, then it's a failure, even if you still get a Carabao Cup, trophy or something like that, or an FA Cup. I think we should be able to compete for those easily now, a lot better than we have in the past.
Which one, Gary? You're only allowed one next season. Champions League,
Premier League, I think, is the one that we can probably best get. I believe.
I want to be on the level of the top teams in England and winning Champions Leagues.
I'd like to think though, like in not next season, maybe the season after. Some of these players, a player like Martinelli, the improvement that he would have gone through, Martin Odegaard, Saliba, Gabriel. Some of these players that we have at the ages that they are, there's more to come from them yet, and that's the most encouraging thing.
Yeah, I mean, the Champions League is something new altogether. I mean, we don't know how Arteta's going to work within that structure. I mean, he could barely handle the Europa. Now we're talking about Champions League, and we're expecting, like, people think I don't think we can win it. I don't think we're at that level yet. We're talking about.
I don't think we can win it next season. No,
until we can challenge City, which we haven't done in 3 years now under Arteta. The Champions League, that's first. I've always said we need to be able to compete with Manchester United, Manchester City, right?
Yeah.
Before we can say, look, then because that gives us the best chance to win the league if we're able to compete with them, and if we're able to do that, then maybe we'll be able to compete with Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, all these, Bayern Munich. I mean, that's what we're talking about being able to do. But like a run into a final requires that you beat 2 or 3 of the top teams in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to beat one now. We had 3 tries and we couldn't do it. All right. Yeah. You're only going to get maybe 1 or 2, depending on, I guess you're going to get 2 tries, or to
Yeah.
do it against
Yeah.
the bigger teams in a different kind of atmosphere. So we're not there yet. I don't think we need to be there yet for us to say that it's it's a failure if we're not there yet. I think it's fine. We need to be able to compete though. We need to be able to
Wanna-
show that we have something there.
I think next season we are going to find out what Mikel Arteta is made of.
Yep.
Because I know I enjoy him as a manager, but next season he is now going to have to navigate through bigger competitions, and he can't afford to be as hesitant as he was last season with going to the bench and rotating. And the owners have now put him in a position where he's got better tools to work with. He looks at the bench now, and the bench looks a lot better. So he doesn't have that excuse. So now we're going to see how he manages players, how he rotates, how he takes the competitions, and that's going to be his biggest test. And if he can't handle all of that, then we'll find out if the job's too big for him or not. Do you know what I mean? Because he's been working with quite a compact team. He's been working sort of in the smaller European, in leagues. Now it's a much bigger world that he's been put into, and I'm interested to see if he's going to be able to sink or swim. Hopefully it will be swimming.
If you think about it, he's he's shown us some, 10 tactical reasons why he's pulled players. A lot of times it's those players at the bottom of the list, at the are 15 and up in terms of importance to the team. Like he'll pull a Tavares pretty quickly. We've seen him bring in Emil Smith-Rowe and pull him, I believe. So he's shown at the bottom. When you're looking at some of the players at the end of the bench, he's shown the confidence to pull that. But he's going to have to do that with some of his big players. If Saka is not having a good day, you pull him. You bring in Trossard.
Yeah.
If Jesus is not having a good day and you feel Nketiah is going to give you something different, then you bring him in. If you can't bring Nketiah in now, you're never going to bring him in. It's not going to get any easier. That's where we need to be, right? We need to be where Havertz might have to come in for Jesus, because Jesus is having a poor day. It's not going to get any better. He's already put in enough work. Forget about it. You know what? Well, he'll come back for the next game, but we need to be able to make those decisions. Like Rice is not working. He's not figuring out the system fast enough, whatever. Bring Jorginho in and let's settle this thing down and see this game out. Those things, the big coaches do that. That's why you bring in players like a Jorginho and a Trossard and even a Havertz if he doesn't start for us immediately.
Yeah.
Because they do have the experience and they're going to have to come off the bench.
Yeah.
That and he can't, I think he just needs to pull the trigger when it's time, not wait it out and then eventually, oh wait, he was on the sidelines ready to come in and we lost the lead. Too late. We knew in that Liverpool game that we needed to shore up the defense. They were killing us, right? They were killing us, and we needed to slow things down. And we have players, and we have players to do that. So they need to come on immediately, not like we can wait another minute. No, we need to see this thing out immediately. So that's what Arteta's going to have to learn, and it's going to be big names that he's going to have to pull sometimes. That's fine. I'd rather get the win than hurt somebody's feelings, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're basically hurting your job if you can't pull the best player on the pitch based on their what their prestige. But if they're playing bad, they need to come off. Right.
Also, just a quick shout out to Stefan who's joined us, and also Melvin Marks has joined us.
Oh, yeah, hello, people.
He needs to brush up on his tactical acumen. Indeed, Melvin. Sam,
that's a big word there. Big word.
Get you caught up here, Sam. Premier League. You can win one next year. Only one. Premier League or Champions League, Sam.
I'll tell you what. For the sheer fact that it's something I've always wanted. And it's something that will shut up all those bloody rival fans.
Nonsense.
Is to win the Champions League.
Yep.
If we win the Champions League, we can finally shut that lot up. I say, you don't have a Champions League, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've done it too. Then we're in part 2, so we are well positioned to do well in the competition. For me, minimum in the Champions League should be a quarterfinal.
I mean, can you see us winning a Champions League the way this team is set up?
Today,
what is there a player that we could bring in now or two that you go Champions League run? We have a really good chance.
Yeah,
I
Mbappe.
think, I think.
What did you just say?
Guys,
I said, yeah,
Mbappe.
Mbappe.
I thought you said. I heard Pepe, and I was like, I don't.
That would be a hell of a ride. That would be a
Yeah.
hell of a
Sorry,
ride.
Sam. I know
Listen,
you.
guys.
Buckle up.
Listen, guys. If you get the right draw, and things go a bit your
knows?
way, anything can happen. Look
No,
at
no, I
Inter
get the
Milan.
draw, but then we still need to. We're still going to have to beat, as I said,
Yeah, but
towards
look
the
at
end of
Inter
that.
Milan.
We're going to have to go through a City, a Bayern Munich,
Totally.
Yeah,
a Real Madrid.
but we've done that before.
No, we haven't done this before. No. Arsenal hasn't done that
Get your
before
popcorn,
in the
people.
last 20 years or last
Not
10 years.
in,
So,
not in the
so
Champions
nobody's
League.
done that here.
In the Champions League, we've always struggled against the Bayern Munichs and the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids, meeting them in the quarterfinal or the last 16.
The Bayern
Yep.
Munichs.
That they
Yeah.
they are the teams we always struggle against.
Yeah.
But you look at in a cup scenario,
Yep.
when it comes to winning a game, not a knockout game, we are normally pretty good at that. We've seen that Arteta's already won us the FA Cup, beating Manchester City.
But he struggled in the
beating
latest set of
Liverpool.
cup games. So that's
Let me
so
talk. Will you let me talk for fuck's sake? Thank you. So he has to prove that in Europe. Yes, he has to prove that in Europe. But when you get to the knockout stages, that's when things can happen, right? That's when things happen. And if you look at Inter Milan, they got to that final very much against what anyone thought they would.
Yeah.
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 True.
Yeah.
And so if Inter Milan can get to a final,
And give City
in
again.
my opinion, we can get to a final. I'm just saying it opens up the possibility. Now, do I think we're likely going to do it? No. I think we still need maybe one or two players and get that pedigree going, get into the Champions League, get used to it, get the experience.
Yeah.
It's probably going to take us maybe 2 or 3 seasons in the Champions League to get to that experience level where okay, now we can sort of figure out what we're doing. But would I love us to get to the final of the Champions League already next season? I would. But my point saying, if Inter Milan can do it, we can do it.
Yeah.
like I said, I think it ups our odds when we can compete with a City and we play them twice a year. So we have a barometer to see where we stand in terms of
Benchmark.
being able to up the odds against the better teams. So until we're able to compete with City, it's still going to be a question mark as to how we're going to do in the Champions League late in the rounds, because we're still struggling to get one over on City, even compete to get a draw. You know what I mean? So
you don't never know in a cup competition as well. I mean, City are the benchmark, as Don Juan said here. English teams are so strong right now. Arsenal are the second best. Hopefully, we can beat City in the league and beat that barometer. But City could be beaten by another team in Europe as well.
But here's one though, right?
Yeah.
Look at the scum. They can get to it. You know what I mean?
They
Sometimes it's easier. I've had a lot of people in football say that it's easier to win the Champions League than the Premier League. And you look at some teams that get to a Champions League final, and then you look at where they are in their league position. You think, fucking hell, how does that happen?
Liverpool have done it over the years.
Chelsea did it as well with Tuchel.
Yeah. So you never know, right? If you've got the right squad, once you get out of those groups, it's possible.
Yeah.
But I would like us to see Arsenal lift that big one. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Timber will help us better tactically, I feel, as he plays an inverted fullback, and obviously Rice will help us out tactically as he can play 6 or 8.
Can we talk about that? Because we've got this new lad, right, who plays either at centre back or right back and invert.
I want to give him a shout.
And invert is the magic word at the moment, right? And we've got Zinchenko that does it as well. They really need to get it right. They really need to know who's going to invert and who's not, because we don't want to find ourselves with a double inversion going on, and our centre backs.
But that's not going to happen.
Having to get split. It worries me. It worries me that if you've got two that can invert, it has to be done at the right time.
Don't be left all alone back there.
Who's doing it?
Yeah. Gary?
No, I was just going to say, I think that's why you practice. So,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
one
you
goes,
to
the
the
other
strong
stays
side
back.
or the weak side, depending on what the rules are. I mean, And that's why you're going to have leaders on the squad. If Rice sees two of his fullbacks up, he's going to have to call one of them back, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for as well, right? So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I would like to think that they practice that. And that's not something that we'll see consistently happen.
Dan doesn't want to be that center back.
I could just see the bad communication. One looks over at the other, one nods, and they think he's going to go. He wants me to go, and they both think he wants me to go, and they both go tearing off into the midfield, and you got Saliba and Gabriel going, "What?"
Stan must have been a center back in a previous life because he doesn't like the idea of being all alone back there in the two.
Yeah.
Psychologically, we need to beat City this season. We need to do it, says Don Juan. You know?
Like I said, that is a big barometer stick as to where we sit in terms of our league, how we perform in the league. The City matches, the Liverpool match this time. We're expecting Liverpool to be better than last season, right? So those are two of the matches along
Liverpool
with
are expecting Liverpool to be better than last season.
Yeah, so we're not think about we got 4 points off of them. Is that going to happen again the way it did last
There
season?
was
it's not going to be that easy. We're going to have to
There
work.
was some signs that they need to correct the ship, Gary. They were losing a lot of games away from home. Their away record was not good, and
They finished the season strong, right? And that's kind of what you want.
With Fabinho, and Fabinho's movement maybe going to be shipped out as well. And I think they're underrating what Fabinho can do for them still. But yeah, Sam, a big shout out to Jurrien Timber. He basically said it's an honor to come and play for Arsenal, and it's an honor to be able to play with his new teammates. And Ajax did a lovely video of him leaving as well. Ajax did it the right way. You know?
Yeah, that video Ajax did was actually incredible. I was talking to Gary about this yesterday on the road trip, and I actually had a tear in my eye when I first saw that video. It choked me up a bit because it was just made so wonderfully. That whole because he came from the Ajax academy, that's their tradition. You know, they bring the players through, bring them through to the main stage. They're used to them moving on. They carry the tradition with them, and and him talking to the academy lads, in that video, and then the Arsenal kid at the end, that was sort of like symbolizing the move to Arsenal and to bring the same traditions to the Arsenal way of, also bringing the youngsters through. When I saw that Arsenal kid at the end there to sort of like, to bridge the transition from Ajax and their way of working with the youth and our way of working with the youth, it actually brought a tear to my eye. I thought it was brilliant. And it was such a classy way for them to say goodbye to him, and their messages as well. They did, were so classy.
Yeah,
and it was really, really fantastic.
Yeah, it also shows how confident they are in what they're doing.
Yeah,
how many players have they let go over the last year and a half, right? It doesn't phase them at all. We'll just do it again. We'll just do it again. That's how this thing works. So when you're confident in what you're doing, it doesn't matter if the other team knows, if the other person knows, if you lose someone. So that's what was cool about that. And then he's sitting in that room next to one of the academy players, right? So, and that the same academy player who I think is on the trip. So, yeah, it's
nice.
It's cool. It's cool. It was cool.
Model. Look at the Ajax model, Ray.
Yeah,
they base their entire existence on bringing youth players through. They will bring in some guys from like Brazil, South America. They'll take him in and give him a chance.
Great youth system.
But they're used to selling that. That's how they generate all their money. They'll bring in their youth players, turn them into really good players. with European pedigree in the Champions League. They'll get into the Champions League, and then then they'll sell them on for a huge profit. And that's the way they're made. They know they can't compete with top clubs in the world. They've still won the Champions League a few times.
Sam, wasn't Kanu at Ajax, wasn't he? Kanu.
Yep.
Yeah, Kanu, Bergkamp.
Yep. Vermaelen came from Ajax as well.
Overmars.
Yeah. Overmars, definitely. Yeah. Some of them came to Arsenal via an Inter Milan, in Kanu's case, in Bergkamp's case. But yeah.
Do you know what they were doing over there, right? Years ago, before anyone else was doing it. It's like when you go to football clubs and you go to where their training pitches are, and you see them with the little kids training, and they're playing football on these full-size pitches, these little kids, and they're just basically just hoofing the ball around because the pitch is so big. Whereas in Ajax, you know, they start them off on smaller pitches depending on and the pitches gradually get bigger with you. So what happens is the player learns how to play with close control with the ball because the pitches are of a good size, and you know they're not just hoofing the ball into space and running, you know, over too many yards. And they also do the total football thing where a lot of players, you know, you learn to play in multiple positions before you're actually given, right, this is going to be your position, but you know how to play these ones. It's a good system that they have over there. And one last thing about Timber, because I don't know hardly anything about this guy at all before we were linked with him, other than he's got a twin brother. But I spoke to a Dutch family on, what day was it now? On Wednesday, that were at the football game. I picked up that they were from, you know, they were talking about Ajax. And I asked the son about, I said, I support Arsenal. We've just signed a guy from Ajax. And he said, oh, yeah, Jurrien Timber. He said, he's a really good player. He said, last season, he didn't have such a good season. But the season before that, he was voted the Eredivisie's player of the season, which I thought was quite an accomplishment for the, you know, usually you think that a player of the season will be an attacking player. Yeah. And he's a defensive player, and he's young, and he already has that accolade. So there's got to be something in there, and he's also played at World Cups. So there's got to be, you know, it's got to have something.
Yeah, listen, in some ways it's a bad thing that the Rice thing has overshadowed his arrival, but maybe it's a good thing for him as well that he can just get down to work.
It's perfect for him. He can just be. He's not expected to have to start for us immediately, right? Whereas Rice is. Yeah. So if he does start for us, that means he's done really well, and you know, it was a good buy for them. So yeah, no, and he can play multiple areas, which means he has multiple opportunities to come on the pitch and play for us. And you know, hopefully, you know, the season goes the way we expect, and he gets a lot more playing time, you know, early as possible, because we're going to need it as the season gets going.
Don Juan said people are sleeping on Timber. He has the potential to break into the side and maybe in Ben White's position.
I like it sometimes a little bit more when you don't know the player. It's more exciting, isn't it? You know, what's he going to be?
You get to enjoy the player maybe a little bit more, and you don't have those expectations. The expectations, if Havertz gets off to a bad start, we're going to be probably saying, "Oh, here we go again." You know, Chelsea. Whereas I think Jurrien Timber will have a little bit of that protection about his game. You know what I mean? Total football from Cruyff. One of the final things from Declan Rice, Sam, I thought it was nice that he kind of got ahead of the Eddie Nketiah stuff and the little altercation they had on the field last season. Sort of put that to bed, you know, that him and Eddie Nketiah are going to be fine. They actually came through the team underage together, and their football arc has brought them back together again, albeit maybe for a season or less. You know, who knows with Eddie. But I thought that was nice that he mentioned that. You know, he's actually knows Eddie's family.
A clause in Declan Rice's contract. One of them was Eddie has to stay.
I said I have a standing order for Jollof Rice every Sunday. So
Jollof Rice. Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You're just gonna, you know.
I'm reminded a bit about when we played Brighton. Gary will remember this. When we played Brighton, Caicedo was the minder for Mitoma when Mitoma got injured. Caicedo took something back out on Martinelli. I feel like Saka might have a little bit of a protector there in Declan Rice. Bukayo Saka.
We definitely that's one of the things we always needed is that kind of a player who, we definitely need that player. And that's why I was like, if you're going to take out Martinelli, then you better make sure you come to Arsenal, because that, that's what, but no, we definitely, and maybe if that's Timber, if that's Rice, I think between the two of them, we've got some really strong-minded players there that are going to put, leave a leg in there if they need to, make sure everybody knows that they're around. So, Yeah,
Do you
no.
ever think we'll see a vision of Mikel Arteta sprinting on like a gazelle to fall back Declan Rice from the situation like he did with
I hope
Xhaka?
so. I hope so. I mean,
hope not.
well, the reason why I hope so is because it's a totally different player. It's a totally different player. When Jacques is doing it, we're really really scared.
It's
You know?
going down on the Alan
We're
Timber.
scared. Like, but if it's Rice, like he's like, all right, there's a little bit of like he's gonna chase him down and slow him down, but that's what we need, that fire. But he'll be hopefully a little bit more controlled than a Xhaka was back in the dark days for Xhaka.
When
When
Jack
you
is
saw him
doing it,
do
you got to
craziness.
dial 911, isn't it? Just to...
9-1. You're just waiting to see if he's gonna make. Yeah. No,
911.
we need that. We need that fire. We need that whatever you called it. I forgot the name now.
I think he's got a
Enforcer.
bit of that,
We need
innit?
that. We need that
I think he's got a bit of
enforcer.
that, isn't he? He's not a
Yeah.
shirker, is he, Rice? He's
No,
got
I don't think he's a shirker. He'll get involved in things,
I
but
think he needs to. Yeah.
Yeah.
and
No, he's coming to be a voice on that pitch.
yeah,
Right. I mean, I think a lot of us will say that Erdegaard, yes, he's vocal, but we all could see that Xhaka was just as vocal of him, if not more, a lot of times. And Rice is coming in with that same kind of. We're expecting to have that same kind of experience from him from a leadership perspective. So, I hope.
Saka and
Xhaka.
Saka and Rice are really good friends as well. You see that every
Yeah.
time they meet up for England.
Yeah,
They're really good friends.
I remember Gary and I talking about this, and I was like, if you're Declan Rice, do you want to hang out with Grealish or do you want to hang out with Saka?
Yeah, he's not. I don't think anybody.
Bloody hell.
I don't think anybody can hang out with Grealish. I think that's like no.
Grealish is like fear and loathing in Las Vegas. I mean, that is.
That's hangover UK style, man. That's
You don't want to get into
you waking
rounds
up
with
and it's a
Grealish.
chicken running by your head, and you're like, "What the world? Why is this?"
It's like the
chicken
it's like the hangover, isn't it? You just wake up and you got chickens and tigers in your toilet.
I have a feeling you won't get into rounds with Saka when it comes to that. You know,
You get Mike Tyson come and smack you when you open the door.
he might be playing some golf rounds with Aaron Ramsdale, but he won't be drinking beers with Bukayo Saka.
Nah,
I think
nah.
Grealish is a professional. We hope that Grealish is a professional, but we know Bukayo Saka is dedicated to his craft, and we feel Declan Rice is dedicated to his craft. He's come to Arsenal with the ambition to win things,
Yeah.
And
Well, isn't Grealish is like one of those old time players that is on the. You see him on the bench smoking a cigarette after a game or before and stuff, and just
Listen,
flicking it as they run onto the pitch,
Stanley
kind of thing. And
Matthews,
it's like,
listen, Jack Grealish is a peaky blinder.
Yeah,
definitely.
he is.
All right,
He is.
Unless anyone has a couple of other things to say, we should probably wind this up.
There's a couple of
pretty
questions
soon.
I've got to answer there in the chat.
They're coming after you, Sam.
Yeah, Don Juan.
oh,
Did I have a tear-
Don
did I
Juan,
have
do you want to
a
answer
tear
that question?
Did I have a tear in the eye when Xhaka left? No, I didn't. I really didn't. I was glad to finally see him go, to be honest, even though he's had a
Tears of
good
joy.
season for us.
Tears of
You know what?
joy.
If you're gonna go, that's the best way to go. We got more money for it, and that's what you want to see, right? So
And I
you
think
did
it's
us a
gonna be
favor on the
very
way out,
difficult
kind
to-
of thing.
You
I
know
think
what
we've
happens?
upgraded a lot there with if Havertz is going to be playing that role and he can get into that role, I think we're going to see a lot more from Havertz than we
I
did
think
from
it's
Xhaka.
I think it's a lot easier to leave a club when you've done something for them, when you've had a good season. You know, in the case of Granit Xhaka, had a good season, was able to leave at the right time. Declan Rice was able to come to Arsenal at the right time,
Yeah.
albeit some West Ham fans being very salty about it. I think in the fullness of time, they'll look back and say he was a great servant for them. And talking about legendary status, maybe he is not a legend at West Ham. Some of them are saying that. He has the potential to be a legend at Arsenal in these next 5-6
He's
years.
not a legend. He's a captain that put a trophy up in the
Some
air.
are saying he's not a legend, Gary. Yes, can you believe that?
Salty that is, isn't it?
Wait, how many European trophies
Yeah.
have they won before?
He's not a legend, but somehow Mark Noble is. Do you know what I mean?
Wait, how many
Mark
European
Noble,
trophies?
exactly.
How many European trophies have they won?
One, I think. I don't know.
Did we
I'm
just
not
see
aware.
it, or is it one before that?
They might have won something back in the midst of times in the Fairs Cup.
Yeah, I think they won one trophy before in Europe. I think this is their
And-
second one.
The FA
And,
Cup against Arsenal, right, Sam?
Yeah, they won the FA Cup.
In
I'm talking about
1980.
European. They
Trevor
won,
Booking.
they won a European Cup before, didn't they?
Trevor. Yeah,
I mean, one of the lower ones.
yeah, indeed.
UEFA,
Okay.
maybe.
All right, listen, really, really good to see Arsenal could be BDS, and Tony knows what that means, right? We see Chelsea acting like Arsenal of the last few years, not able to get a deal over the line with Caicedo. Well, Lavia's out there, so we have options if Thomas Partey, whatever's happened with Thomas Partey is, we'll see what happens. But we'll get out of here. We're going to go to the US tour now, and we'll see you back on Thursday. Sam, thank you for joining. Enjoyed the
Thanks for having me.
discussion. Gary, thanks for being here.
Yep, thank you.
We enjoyed this chat, and Stan also. Very good.
Cheers, lads.
All right, we're out of here. Take care, everyone. Come on, you Gunners, and you can sing "Rice, Rice, Baby" or I'm yelling "Timber" or whatever the hell is. But I like the Timber one for me anyway.
Yeah.
So welcome, Julian.
I hope the